I was living in my mom's basement playing video games for a living and bartending at the time. And so I said, hey, you know what? It pays $250 a week. I'm already up early in the morning. I'll go do it. So, and I remember going home and telling my mom, because she asked how it was. And so I told her, I was like, I know what I want to do the rest of my life. And morally, I knew that the world was going to have a lot of people trying to take advantage of them. There was going to be a lot of uncertainty, but there was still more good than evil, and we just had to show the good. There's a guy out there that I'm chasing, and there's dreams that I do not want to my deathbed. I want those dreams to pat me on the shoulder and say, I'm so thankful that I got to meet you.
Welcome back to another episode of The Burn. I am Ben Newman, and every week we bring you individuals in sports, business, performing at the highest possible levels as a result of connecting to the burn, the fire, the fuel that lies inside of them. Aaron Nash has built incredible companies: Platinum Fitness, P-Fit, WAYT Nutrition. And aside from those companies and what makes those companies great and the teams that are part of those companies great is that he has become an example. And all you have to do is go to his Instagram and see it's the only thing on his bio. The guy who does the shit that he says he's going to do. And Aaron, I think that sums it up. It's the best bio that I could possibly give you. And that's what I admire about you, is that it's no holds barred. You do what you say you're going to do. So welcome to The Burn, brother. It's great to have you.
Thanks, man. I'm very, very honored to be here. I know that we have a friendship, but, just between us, you're somebody that I've looked up to and admired for a really long time. And so I'm just grateful and very thankful to be on here and to be able to talk with you today and hopefully help some people. So whatever you got for me, let's do it.
Well, I know that you will, and iron sharpens iron. It's a two-way street. And, I'm inspired because of your ability to take action. And one of the things that in one of our conversations where I feel like we really bonded and connected was for your burn. I think there's a lot of people that get into your industry and, I'm going to get into fitness because I want to make money or I want to do this. And it was literally, and I'm going to let you tell the story, but in the first 20 seconds of you working with your first client, you knew that you would be doing what you're doing, even though you were in the great state of Michigan, which was good to me being a Michigan State alumni. Even though you were in Michigan, you knew within the first 20 seconds that this would be an industry where you were going to shake it up and change people's lives. So tell us about finding that burn in those first 20 seconds.
Sure. So, I like most athletes or anybody growing up, we've worked out our whole lives, right? And the hard part was when I went to college, I didn't know what to do, right? So I'd done natural bodybuilding shows. I went for teaching and education, which is what actually my degree is in, which is funny. And I have a coaching minor and a phys ed minor and a business major. So, but what happened, which was weird, was I kind of had a falling out and just a crazy experience of just going down the wrong path for a really long time. And my buddy in Michigan, who I grew up with and played Pop Warner football since we were 6 years old together, he calls me and goes, hey, man, I know you're back in town. I opened this fat loss center and I need your help. I'm too busy. I need someone to come help me. And I was living in my mom's basement playing video games for a living and bartending at the time. And so I said, hey, you know what? It pays $250 a week. I'm already up early in the morning. I'll go do it. So I went in there, and I remember the very first person I walked into was 5 a.m. She walked in. She was doing just regular battle ropes, right? And her back just kept hurting and hurting and hurting and hurting. And I was explaining to her why it was hurting, right? So when I fix people in their form or any type of thing when I'm coaching, the number one thing I start with is I never say, hey, do this. I explain why you need to do that, right? So, hey, if you pull your shoulders back and tighten your core, your back's not going to hurt. The reason your back's hurting is your shoulders go forward, then your spine tilts, and now all that weight is now on your low spine. And so she did it. She's like, instantly like that, right? And it was just a new game changer for her because she had such bad back pain that she just could not get through 25 seconds of this, right? So I had coached her through it. And after the session, she came up to me and she said, hey, I want you to know that was the first workout I've done pain-free pretty much ever. And I just wanted to thank you for fixing that for me. And she ended up going on to be the first client with us who lost over 100 pounds and kept that off now forever. And I remember going home and telling my mom, because she asked how it was. And so I told her, I was like, I know what I want to do the rest of my life. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but I think one of the things with fitness is so many guys want to work with athletes or want to work with sports teams, or, you know, they want the Alabama job or they want the Tim Grover job or they want all these things. I don't think it takes a great coach to take somebody who wants to go to the NFL Combine and bench 225 4 more times. They're very motivated to do that. It doesn't take a great coach to teach them how to do that. I think taking somebody who's lost that self-belief, showing them what they're capable of and giving them the actual habits and support to change their life, I think that's what separates a good coach from a great coach. And to me, that was my calling. As soon as I realized that was the power that I had from my years and years of experience and not knowing what I needed to do, I knew that that was where the education piece fit in. That was where the fitness piece fit in. That was where the coaching piece fit in. Everything I did, I didn't know why I did it, but I was always called to that. And in that one moment, it kind of clicked for me, said, this is it.
So here's what I find fascinating is you take that one experience, that one client losing 100 pounds. And once again, going back to how I started, some people say, oh, I'm going to go make as much money as I can, rather than saying, tackling a niche, figuring out what you truly love, figuring out the best way to do it better than anybody else. The money will be a byproduct. So what you've done is you've actually decided, we're going to tackle obesity. I'm going to change the obesity issue. The clients we work with, we're going to tackle obesity, and the money's going to become a byproduct. And all of your companies is proof that the money becomes a byproduct of chasing your passion and doing things the right way. So what was it for you where you said, okay, here's this first person that lost 100 pounds, but we're going to stay in our lane? Because I think so many people, when they get into business, they get out of their lane, try to do so many different things rather than staying in their lane and doing what they're passionate about.
I don't think people realize the systemic issue that obesity is in our country. That's just the truth. And I think if you look at the last year plus of COVID, regardless of your political beliefs or your virus beliefs or any of the crazy stuff that people like to argue back and forth about, I think the one thing that we all agree on is if you're healthy, you take care of yourself, and you're not obese, you have a much better chance of being a healthy, longer quality of life individual than somebody who does not take care of themselves. And I'm not saying, when I say healthy and when I say fat loss, I don't mean that you need to have a 6-pack. I mean, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, you know, it's proven that lowers your risk for heart disease by like 90%, right? So I'm talking, how do we get people from obese to healthy, not obese to 6-pack, just obese to healthy habits. And if we do that on a countrywide scale, to be honest, I think we lower disease, we lower death, we lower diabetes, we lower heart disease, literally almost everything COVID related stems from obesity, almost every comorbidity. I think it's the true pandemic in this country.
So one of the things that I admire about the business model of Platinum Fitness, which has really given it the ability to grow for people to now they're coming to you, banging down your door saying, we want to do this, is you've given people coaches like you who have had that passion. You have literally taken your passion for education and say, we're going to create the most elite coaches in order to create these group environments where people can come in. It's almost like you're part of a team and you're going to fight together in order to fight your battle, right? And I think it's incredible. I mean, for people, you got to go to the pages, you've got to research Platinum Fitness, you've got to get on Instagram, you got to see these videos of just the passion, the energy, the way that you celebrate people who are losing weight. I mean, it's a family that you've created. So it's not, we're going to make money. Once again, the money's a byproduct, but I admire, and if you can speak to it, how important has it been to be so intentional in doing this the right way in order to empower these people who have battled significant obesity for long periods of time? I
always say this, and this is just something that I've learned the hard way, is the shortcut is the right way, right? Like, so everybody who's looking for the quick fix or the shortcut, it's just doing the right thing long enough by enough people. And eventually that pays off, right? Because if you have great word of mouth, if you get people the results, if you just go out of your way, like we actually have an award called the Out Give a F award that we give out to one of our coaches every year. You know, for the coach who goes above and beyond outside of the gym for the clients the most. And we reward that. That is part of our culture. We want these coaches to become true friends and coaches to these people, right? And that's a tough line to navigate sometimes, but that is our mission. Our mission is just to outcare everybody. And one of the things that we've found just through the last couple of years of doing this is my goal is I realize that one is too small a number to achieve anything of you know, real substance, right? And my only goal in life is to create more coaches and give them their opportunities for their families like I had. So it was done for me in Michigan. And I'm just trying to pass that forward to the next generation of coaches that I have. And we have some of the greatest people on earth that work for me and work with us. And their ability to connect with our clients is the secret sauce, right? Anybody can teach a push-up. Our coaches get you to want to do it. And then our coaches care if you do it right. And our coaches care what you're struggling with at home. Our coaches care what your biggest downfalls are that are making you go backwards or be in that area where you just kind of tread water and you get frustrated. That's our goal, is how do we just take one or two little habits today and just move you forward tomorrow?
I love it. It's such an incredible model. And you can just see in the pictures of the people that have won that you celebrate how unique it is. You know, the next book that I've written is called Uncommon Leadership, coming out August 3rd. And when I think of you, I think of uncommon. You know, I believe that we have to be an example for the people that we want to lead. And I think how you choose to show up is uncommon. And I'm going to go down a road that might surprise people, but I feel like I really need to take you here because I think they now understand your heart. They understand your passion. But then there's the people like you. This is the uncommon, where you say, you know what? It's not just about business. I need to help people. I need to help people break through the mindset that a COVID is going to take over my life and make me complacent, or obstacles are going to make me complacent. And so we're going to get to KLM, the charity that you started with Sean Henry. Bear in mind, how do you even have time to run a charity, yet run a charity to where you said, we're going to do it right. Every dollar that goes into the charity literally goes to the cause to stop sex trafficking in the United States. Once again, it's not about money. It's about doing the right thing. So what I'd like to do, and we're going to touch on all these areas, but I want to start with this uncommon mindset. How important is it to you to really empower people? And has it been for you to get out of that comfort zone and be uncommon and do the things that other people aren't willing to do?
Well, like you alluded to with COVID, it's just been, we're in the fitness industry. Outside of the restaurant and bar industry, I don't think you could name an industry that got more destroyed countrywide, top to bottom, than our industry. You know, I could be wrong, but I mean, it got massacred, and I think everybody would agree with that. The issue that we had happen is when we closed down. So a lot of people don't know this, but we were getting ready to start a new program. And that Wednesday, my wife and I had been trying for about 18 months to have a child. And we had spent tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars doing all this. And this is why we do the golf outings and everything else. But we found out that we were successful. We were going to have our first child on Wednesday. And on Friday, they shut down our companies. And with no idea of when they were going to return. At this point, everybody was very, very just terrified of what was going on. And the economy had come to a complete stop. And so we had a decision to make. And the decision was very simple. Is I sat there and I said, okay, win or lose, what do I want my son to know about me when he comes out? Because in 9 months, it's going to be a completely different world, period, end of story. And I said, hey, you know what? If we go out in the community and we do the right thing, I can lay my head down at night on my pillow and feel real good about that, whether my business is open or not. So what my coaches did is we went online completely, right, for everything that we could. We would go deliver supplements to your house. We brought food and coffee and everything to the first line workers, the essential workers, the cashiers, the clerks, the nurses, the police officers, the firefighters, everybody. We would go out and do landscaping. We would paint houses. We would move people. I mean, it didn't matter. If you had something for us to do, we would go out and do it every single day. One of our teams had to be out doing it, and another one of our teams had to be doing the online workout for our clients at home. And I told my guys, I was like, I'm gonna pay you through this. You're not gonna lose $1. We're gonna adjust whatever we have to adjust. But I said, but when I lay my head down at night, I said, I'm gonna know that we did the right thing during this time, and win or lose, I'm good with it, knowing that we did it the right way. So if I have to look my son in the eye and say, hey, you know what? At one point your dad was this, this, and this, and I can get all those things back. But morally, I knew that the world was going to have a lot of people trying to take advantage of them. There was going to be a lot of uncertainty, but there was still more good than evil, and we just had to show the good.
So let me ask kind of a deeper question into your mindset, because there's plenty of leaders that watch our show every single week. And there's plenty of people who right now they're dealing with challenge and adversity and fears, and they're overcoming it. And they might not be leading a company the way that you do. But a lot of people, they didn't take action because of fear. There's such a high level of certainty in the statement that you just made. And that's one of the things I love about your passion. It's certainty. It's intentionality. This is what I'm going to do, kind of like your bio on Instagram. And so what is it for you? Like, take us to that conversation of why it wasn't fear and it was faith that we are heading down this is what we are doing. Because so many people, once they have the fear, they say, well, because of COVID, we can make this adjustment. You literally said, we're not shutting down.
Yeah, well, here's the truth is we knew that the problem that we were out to solve was still the problem that needed to be solved. It just might have to be adjusted or varied upon, right? So the reason we created the nutrition company was very simple. It's so that we could help fight obesity. Like, if you go right now and send us an email form, we will literally coach you whether you buy our products or not. We do not care. That was a mission of our team was, hey, we're going to do this because obesity is the problem. We're going to still solve this problem. Now, obviously, everything's open back up. Our nutrition company is doing great. We're in a lot of stores already. However, that being said, what we founded it on was fat loss and helping people get healthy. There's a free habits thing you can do. We will answer. I actually still personally answer every email. So if you email, it will be me personally answering you. So if you don't like the response, I do apologize. But, realistically, that's just why we did it, right? We still said, hey, there's a huge problem here that we can solve. And you know what? If my coaches need to go online, we can pivot and do that, right? If I have to shut down my brick and mortar locations, I've got the best coaches on earth. We're going to go online and do this. And so we have that option, right? With the franchising that we started, the biggest thing there, again, was the same thing is, The problem was the problem. The problem wasn't going to go away. So we were just trying to focus on different solutions, right? So how do we change a country? Well, I can't do it by myself. I can't open a gym fast enough, right? It would take me 25 years to do that. So how do I do that? Well, I get other people who have a passion to help. I get them to come in, they're investors or they're other gym trainers or owners who maybe haven't had the best luck or haven't been successful. We give them our systems, we give them our tools, we give them our culture, and I'm with them every step of the way. And that's how I can create change faster, right? But again, you can't skip that step, right? I think a lot of people try to skip these steps. We developed 4. We opened our 4th location during COVID on purpose for the story. We wanted to be able to say, hey, during COVID, we grew, we opened a gym. During the craziest time on planet Earth, right? And then we started franchising. And here's what's crazy is our franchising, when we first launched, we had practically zero interest, right? Because I didn't want to put any numbers on the document. And my franchise director was like, dude, we got to put something on here so they have some type of idea what you're offering. And I said, okay, then we're putting COVID numbers on there. We're putting our 2020 numbers on there because Everyone else had their 2018s and 2019s, and they're like, oh yeah, we're a great company. You want to franchise with us. You want to do this, that, and the other. And I said, dude, no. I want to show them the worst case scenario. I want to show them, hey, 2020, COVID. And I told my guys every day, I said, we're going to laugh about 2020. I said, when our grandkids ask us about COVID, I said, we're legitimately, like, I'm not joking. We're going to say, yeah, we were in fitness and we blew up. When they were shutting everybody else down, we blew up. We were that company that everybody talks about when you hear about this happening and then someone blew up out of it. That's us. And that was our mentality. So we went full bore into the mindset of COVID's going to make us. COVID's going to make us. COVID's going to make us. We're going to be better. And we need this test to be where we need to be on the other side. And the entire company, the entire culture, the entire team embraced it. And now we're doing it.
So here's what I love. It's the power to choose how you respond to challenge and adversity. And I always say how you respond to challenge and adversity determines the story that you write. There's so many people, they tell you how great they want to be, but then when we have a conversation with their action, it's a totally different story. There's such a powerful story of legacy, and you can see the long-term impact of what you went through for the belief system of your team. I want to put this into a football analogy, though, to really hammer home, to really embody what you just said, because I want to make sure everybody captured it. You and I, Buccaneers fans, obviously now, big Tom Brady fans, for obvious reasons, you being in Tampa, my work with Levante David, this year's Super Bowl was easier for us to watch, right?
Very much,
well,
yeah.
I was rooting for the Patriots. I worked with some of their players in the past as well. I want to take people back to the game against the Atlanta Falcons when Tom Brady was down 28-3. Essentially, what you just shared was you were Tom Brady. The score was 28-3. And what most people do, most leaders, they buckle at their knees and they quit. There's time on the clock. Nobody's ever come back from something like this. And you literally, it was the leadership of you and your team. And if you've ever seen the video, Tom Brady's running up and down the sidelines. Do your job, do your job, There was no lack of belief. It was all belief. It didn't matter what the score was. And we're just going to come out of this thing stronger, and we're going to go win this game. When I hear you tell that story, it's like Tom Brady versus the Atlanta Falcons. I don't care how bad you tell me it is. I don't care if you tell me the world is coming to an end. I don't care what restrictions the government or whatever somebody tries to put on us. I don't care what you tell me. We will win. And I think it's such an important thing. And that's why I wanted to put the analogy on it for people to realize, whether it's sports or whether it's business, you choose your action when other people think the game is over. Many people turned off their TVs. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl that night. Many people in your industry chose, we're going to shut down. You know what? There's nobody can come to our gym. So we'll shut down. And one day I'll get a phone call that says we can be. You created solutions. And I think that says so much about you and the company. Here's where I want to take you now, because it wasn't just that you got me fired up today. So it wasn't just the solutions that you created. That wasn't enough. You went and created a charity called Kids Lives Matter. So it wasn't enough to say, I'm going to take my company. You said that's not enough. We're now going to have golf tournaments for IVF, and we're going to give back, and we're going to support families that maybe don't have the opportunity to do what you and Kelly did for your family. And then you said KLM, we're going to fight sex trafficking because there's other issues. Tell us about that, creating KLM. In the middle of how do I bring my business back, and through this, you decide to start a charity with Sean Henry. I mean, most people are going to hear this and say, how is it possible? But I think it speaks to your burn and your fight. So tell us about KLM coming from COVID.
Yeah. So, back last year when the Ghislaine Maxwell stories kind of started coming out, is me and Sean, I was on the phone texting Sean back and forth. And I was like, dude, I really want to get involved in this. Like, let's see who we can throw money at to really help. And that's typically what a lot of people do, right? Is they want to get involved in a cause. They want to feel good. They'll stroke a check and that's it. So we started calling around. Obviously there's some bigger name charities out there in that space, which don't have the best reputation in the space. But what happened was we started calling charity after charity after charity. And Sean said, I'm going to call these 10, you call these 10. and let's see what happens. And I started going through. So when you're a charity, if you're doing it the correct way and going through the proper channels, there's a lot of them that have to post their financial statements. Okay. Now I'm a business owner and so is Sean, and that's the world we come from. So when you bring in $500,000, like one of these charities, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but they brought in $500,000 for the year. Well, they paid out $246,000 to their CEO and their CFO, which happened to be the two founders. And then they had $83,000 in office supplies for the year. Now I know as a business owner what office supplies are. Okay. And I'm not going to say whether they fudged the numbers or not. All I'm going to say is that's a heck of a lot of office supplies for two people running a charity who are already taking in half of the money. So we started going through financials, and Sean was on the phone, and it got to the point where we realized most of these guys are full of shit. Like, this is a scam. They're just taking your damn money. And I was pissed. And so was Sean. And I said, dude, I don't feel comfortable giving anybody my money. I'm like, this is highway robbery at this point. And I'm like, I don't even want to go into some of these other categories, but I said, just in this trafficking alone, we haven't found almost anyone who's doing it right, or at least trying to do it right. And so what we decided is we said, well, hey, dude, you're doing good in business. I was closed down at the time, but I knew where we were going. I said, we're going to be fine. Let's create something here and let's actually try to implement change. So we actually have 7 people, and I have a call after this with our group that we meet almost every single week. And we go over proposals for victims. We vet companies, and we try to do all these things, but we do not take a dollar. Nobody gets paid. Zero money goes to me, goes to Sean, goes to any of the other 6 people who volunteer their time every single week to spending 3 to 4 to 5 hours a week on this cause. And this is what we do. And so honestly, it's a two-edged sword, because when you start going down the path, especially with child trafficking, some of the stories and some of the things that we've been exposed to, I don't think I could handle much more than that in a week, to be honest with you. Just to give you a frame of reference, I had one of the stories that really made me say, okay, we got to do this was my stepson was 4 at the time. He's 5 now. And one of the stories was about a 4-year-old who they found in a dumpster who had been raped over 30 times, a young boy. And I looked at my kid and I just cried. And I was trying to think, what would it be like to be that family? Right? Like, can you imagine your child? Like, you wouldn't go to work. You wouldn't pay your bills. You wouldn't give a damn about anything. And I was like, what's happening to these families? How do they get taken care of? What happens after that kid gets rescued by some of these amazing people who go in and do this? And there's some amazing, extremely brave people who go into hell and get these kids out. But what happens after that? And that's where we wanted to come in. We wanted to do it on an individual basis. We wanted to find out exactly what that child and that family needed, or if it's just the child, a lot of times it just is, what we can do. Do they need education? Do they need therapy? Do they need resources? Do they need rent? Do they need car payments? Do they need just whatever? It doesn't matter. We get proposals every week. We either approve them or we ask for more information. We obviously never give the victim straight cash. We always try to solve the problem instead of give cash to the problem, just because, again, there's so much abuse, there's so much drugs, there's so many just terrible things that can happen when you give somebody a lot of cash, especially who's been in that world. So we try to do the absolute best that we can. And I'm sure there might be some people who take advantage of it, but it was a problem. And when I talked to Sean about it, the thing that really stuck out to me was we talked about it and I said, dude, neither one of us want to do this. Neither one of us have time to do this, but we need to do this. And it's just been every week, we're just learning more and more and trying to get better and better at it and trying to do as much as we can in the time that we have to try to make an impact in this space. So.
I admire the strength. I admire the no excuse mentality. It goes back to what's in your bio, the guy who does the shit he says he's going to do. And it would be really easy to get committed and to go into this. I remember the interview with Elizabeth Frazier, who was a sex trafficking survivor who you guys have now linked up with, which is awesome to be able to even tackle the issue on a deeper level. And you do hear some of these stories and it's hard. It's hard on the ears. It's hard to talk about. But I just admire your and Sean's strength to push through and to stay connected to the burn to make a difference. I think you've already highlighted a lot of where the answer to this final question will go, but I want to ask it anyway because I think it's important. What does legacy mean to you?
You know, I always want to be able to say that, and I don't remember why this analogy stuck in my head, but it was Les Brown who said it. And he was talking about being on your deathbed and all the ghosts of the gifts that you could have had in your life or around you telling you, why didn't you use me? I was given to you. And just knowing what you were capable of as a human, and having to have that conversation of, I could have used you. I could have used you. You could have given these gifts to the world and these gifts and these gifts and these gifts. And I don't know why that story stuck with me so strongly. But I always have thought about that of, you know, we're never blessed to know what's going to happen today. I mean, we've learned that hard the last year, right? We don't know if our entire business is going to get shut down. Everything we've built with everything that we've got for the last however many years you're doing whatever it is you're doing. You don't know if you're going to wake up, period. You might not have breath tomorrow. So if you have it today, you owe it to yourself to get better and find out what those gifts were given, because I personally feel it's one of the most selfish things the human being can do is to take the gifts, and I'm a believer in faith, but to take the gifts that God gave you and do nothing with them. I think that is the ultimate sin. And to me, that scares the hell out of me, because I know that it took me a long time to get my shit together. And now it's one of those things where I look every single day at, man, there's a guy out there that I'm chasing, and there's dreams that I do not want to my deathbed. I want those dreams to pat me on the shoulder and say, I'm so thankful that I got to meet you and that I got to be put out in this world. I don't want them over my shoulder going, why didn't you unleash me?
Brother, I'm ready to run through a brick wall today. I appreciate your fire. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate you being uncommon in a world that needs it. I really want to encourage people, please share this episode. You know, I'm not one of those guys, a lot of times, the sharing and the liking and subscribing. Yes, I want you to do those things, but I want you to share this episode with somebody who needs it. You know, if you pay attention to Aaron's story is a story of action. You have that first experience in Michigan that has now led to Platinum Fitness, the PFIT franchises, WAYT Nutrition, KLM, charities like doing work with IVF for other families. It's all about action. So I'm going to have you take one action step. Share this episode with somebody that needs to hear it. Somebody that's allowed their fears to hold them back during this past year. Somebody who's allowed their uncertainties to hold them back. And choose to fight. Choose to fight. Choose to take action. Choose to take Aaron's example of what it truly means to identify your burn, stay connected to it, and to put action behind it. Aaron, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us for The Burn, and we'll see you all next week.